From BQE Restaurant and Lounge in the heart of Atlanta's historic Martin Luther King District, it's Newsmakers Live, bringing you the issues, politics, and perspective of the Atlanta community. Now in its 10th season, here is tonight's moderator and your host, 8-time Emmy Award-winning broadcast journalist, Mr. Maynard Eaton.
Thank you, my partner. Thank you all for being here because this is a special night. Tomorrow we may elect or having a runoff Atlanta's first white candidate for possible mayor. But we have tonight, as good as it gets in this business of political punditry and prognostication and analysis. And this is really a treat for me to see these three young, dynamic young guys here with us to discuss their thoughts about where Atlanta's going, how important tomorrow may be. To my right is Dr. Rashad Ritchie. He's a midday host on News and Talk 1380 WAOK and a political commentator for V103. Dr. Ritchie is also a college professor and a writer for CBS. But you've also seen him as on many other Channel 46 doing some news commentary, and we'll be doing a debate during a runoff at Clark Atlanta University, I hope.
Yep.
To his right is a good friend, Robert Patillo, attorney Robert Patillo. I worked with him on a campaign 8 years ago.
Yep.
8 years ago. He's grown in grace since then. I've stood still. He's a host at CBS Radio Atlanta and a frequent guest on Fox News and TV One. Robert, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you.
To his right is our conservative friend. His name is Shelley Winter. Shelley is a provocative Facebook commentator, a political pundit, and a media consultant. Yes. Gentlemen, tomorrow could be a whole new era for Atlanta. This could be a major shift in our politics. I want to hear from you, but for what I'm thinking is a good chance, we may have two whites in the runoff, Mary Norwood and Peter Amon. I'm going to let you all take that.
All right, so I disagree. I don't think we'll have two whites in the runoff. I think there's an organic split with white voters, just as there's an organic split with black voters. If you look at the poll that was done the time before last, you will see that Peter Amon actually took 4 points away from Mary Norwood. Mary Norwood is no longer trending in the same demographic population that she was trending. She's been hemorrhaging votes for about 30 days straight. Keisha Lance Bottoms goes into a runoff, in my opinion, if the election were held today, along with Mary Norwood. We're only a few hours away from that, but that is my prediction as of right now.
Based on the polls or based on what you're feeling, seeing, and hearing?
Well, when you talk about predictions are based on one, scientific data. So if you look at actual scientific polls that take respondents that make up the historical context of what usually happens in Atlanta, we mean white participation, black participation, gender participation, as well as race participation. If you look at scientific polls, it gives you a good indication of how things will turn out. You still have almost 20% of people saying they're undecided. That's usually not true. They're just saying they're undecided, but for the most part, they've made up their mind.
Robert, you cover politics around this country as well as anybody else. The polls had Mrs. Clinton winning.
Let's ignore the polls. Polls are not significant in modern politics.
That's right.
And I think because of that, we have to look at what we see, the energy we have going on in communities. Norwood's been hemorrhaging votes for the last 60 days, ever since he said the police brutality and racial profiling. She couldn't answer that question, and she couldn't answer the Trump question. Mary Norwood,
which I asked both of those questions.
She should have avoided forums in general for this entire election campaign after the 2008-9 race, where she knew that she was going to, where she knew that that wasn't her strong point.
They can't hear her.
All right, how about the Shelley Toe? All right, but one thing that we have to realize and have to understand is that if we do end up with Norwood and Amon in the runoff, that is the fault and responsibility of three straight black Democratic mayors who thought it was good housing policy to blow up black housing projects and move those people out to Clayton County and Union City and East Point. We have no one to blame but ourselves for the loss of black hegemonic economic and political power in this city. And on this question of, well, does it matter if we have a black or white or Republican or Democratic mayor? No, it doesn't, because the Green Party, the money party, is the only one that matters in this city.
And are they still controlling Atlanta? The money party, corruption at City Hall. Are they buying this election? Come on, Shelley.
Two things I want to say. One, you started off by saying, will Atlanta go in a different direction? The truth of the matter is, Atlanta's had for the last 8 years a Republican mayor, a moderate Republican, but a Republican mayor. By all definitions of policy, Kasim Reed has operated as a moderate Republican. He's been pro-police. He's been pro-business. He's gutted the pension here. For lack of a better word, I use gutted to be just for hyperbole. But you know what I mean. If Mary Norwood would have done the same thing as Kasim Reed did, and you had a 714 vote swing, we would have been marching around City Hall 8 years ago. So this idea that Atlanta's going to go in a different direction, not policy-wise, but I will say this to your point about the money. Municipalities are large, basically welfare for people, for businesses. I mean, that's how municipalities work, and Atlanta's no different. The difference here is that what you've traditionally had in Atlanta that I've seen, being from New York, is New York City, what you traditionally had in Atlanta is you had a black voter base, meaning the legs, the people that elected somebody, and you had white money. And you had a handful of black people who had money, who went along with what was going on as long as they got their share. To Robert's point, what you have going on now is the money has remained the same. That black money has remained the same over the last 3 or 4 administrations. So now you have an influx of people, white and black, young. They're getting no benefits from this money. So they're looking at a situation where the whole idea of a white mayor or a different mayor
doesn't really bother them.
them.
Rashad, what are you saying now? Maybe that's why I'm suggesting it's a new day. There are new folks here in town who's saying, hey, Peter Amon wouldn't be bad because he's smart. Or there's someone who said Vincent Fort is a new day, a fresh new spirit, a fresh new face for, and he's liked by the Bernie Sanders crowd.
Yeah, he's tremendously liked, and Peter Amon is a remarkable candidate on paper. I told him on my program, Peter, the biggest problem you have is that you're a white man running for mayor of Atlanta. That's your biggest issue.
But he's addressed that.
He's addressed it. He's talked about it in forums I've been with.
From Jump Street.
But he's still that guy, all right? If you think that racial identity politics don't exist amongst Democrats just as much as it exists amongst Republicans, you're mistaking yourself, all right? You're fooling yourself. So you're going to see, and this is what's already happening with polling data. These are real voters, by the way. We can say polls don't matter, but they're actually calling voters. They're the respondents. The reason why Keisha Lance Bottoms is surging the way she's surging is because organically black females are beginning to support her in significant numbers. So African-American females make up the largest voting demographic for the city of Atlanta.
Do they know her? Do they know her?
Let me say this. She's the only black female running in this race.
Which was purposely done. That's why she's there. She's not there because she's actually the best candidate. She's got the shortest period of time on the city council, right, of all of them. So she was put there because of what Rashad just said. This was designed. This was put there. This is why she's here.
And orchestrated.
And I think a big part of it is we have to understand that Mayor Reed needs a continuation of his corporatist policies. I know you said he's been a moderate Republican as mayor. I will say that he's been no different than any white supremacist or David Duke or anybody else. Because when you have a mayor who is bulldozing homeless people outside of the city, who is making ordinances saying that homeless people can't camp out, who's closing down Peachtree and Pine, what the hell would David Duke do differently than Kasim Reed has done?
There was a story today on WSB-TV, and it shocked the hell out of me. It's on Facebook. You guys can see it. But Mayor Reed taking credit for effectively ending homelessness
for veterans
in the city of Atlanta. Here's the thing. He just kicked them out. But tomorrow on my show, I will take personal offense at this because we're celebrating Veterans Week, okay? For him to go and take credit for that, when if you go down the street, I promise you'll see 3 or 4 homeless veterans walking. Nobody told them that we have effectively ended homelessness with veterans in the city of Atlanta.
So you're telling me that black female voters in Atlanta are going to follow a puppet of Mayor Reed's because he's a black female?
Well, I think
so black women are going to vote for Mayor Reed and his
I think what you have to really remember is Atlanta's going to have about 250,000 registered voters for this election. At best, we're going to get 60,000 voter turnout.
Yeah.
Most of these are going to be very low information voters, primarily because these candidates have done a poor time identifying themselves and identifying their policies. People break up things into chunks. White lady, white dude, them black dudes running, and the black woman running, and then they get into policy thereafter. The candidates never got to the policy positions, policy points, and that's why Keisha will get a large amount of the black female voters, because a lot of people go in there and vote, say, I need to vote for mayor, black woman, named Keisha, cool, that's me, I'm good.
Well, to me, all of them are to blame for that scenario. All candidates have run a very superficial campaign in many regards, and there's also a consumerism element. People consume campaigns in different ways as well. So even though we may be in the know as far as politics are concerned, for the most part, Robert is right. Most people that vote in any election are considered low information voters. That's every election.
The difference here, though, there's two things at work. I think the reason why you're going to have low turnout is because I think there's a lot of people. Unquestionably, you have 8 people who are qualified to be mayor. Each one of these people, in their own way, are qualified to be the mayor of the city of Atlanta. I don't care if they're white, I don't care if they're black, whatever. I think a lot of people are looking at this are seriously, I don't know the choice to make. I'm going to allow someone else to make a choice, and then I'm going to make my choice when it's on too.
In the runoff.
In a runoff. And then I think
But that hurts black candidates.
Well, that hurts all the candidates with the exception of the one endorsed by Kasim and the one who lost by 700 votes the last time. Look, I listen to both of these brothers religiously. I listen to talk radio. I listen to them. If I listen
and
to
you talk about them too on Facebook.
I do. Sometimes I disagree.
And I talk right back about them, though.
Right, yeah. If I disagree, I'm going to say something because I know they'll respond back. It's cool. It's a conversation. But if you listen to not them, if you listen to their listeners, the people who call in every day, if you pay attention to each one of their radio Facebooks or my Facebook or any social media for a City of Atlanta, black city Atlantans, you will note that everyone's basic political philosophy aligns with Vincent Ford.
That's right.
100%. If I listen to Rashad's show at 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, every single caller, whether I listen to them that moment or all throughout, and we know them all basically, I mean the callers, I mean I'm not talking
Because they're regular callers.
The regular callers, they all align with Vincent Ford.
You agree with that? You agree with that?
Yeah, progressive candidates tend to connect more so with the social policies of callers on WAOK and, frankly, even V103.
Right.
I was speaking with millennials this morning. This morning, I had a conversation with a group of about 20 millennials who were over at Chick-fil-A. Out of these 20 folks that are registered to vote in the city of Atlanta, you know how many of them said they're going to vote? 2. You know why? The rest of them said they're not voting because they don't know who to vote for. It is too crowded, and they're waiting for the runoff.
You said something to startle me prior to the show. You said you received death threats for talking about this mayor's race. Are you serious?
Well, yeah, and the reason is that you have this very entrenched form of politics in the city that only campaigns to their base, that does not want to hear any outside voices, and they act as if you criticize any one candidate, that all of a sudden you are a front to not just their political interests, their business, their economic, their social, and their personal interests, because many of the people have no identity outside of politics. They can't tell you what they did before politics because they are creatures only of politics. And to your point about the millennial voters, the biggest issue that's been motivating black youth for the last 6 years in America has been what? Black Lives Matters, police brutality, and social justice and criminal justice reform.
Hit them with it.
There have been no candidates campaigning solely on those issues.
You haven't heard it at all.
Hold on. Now, when it comes to LGBTQIAPK plus community issues, they will put up rainbow signs and rainbow crosswalks. They'll march in the parade. But when it comes to black folks getting shot in the streets, they get real quiet real quick, including the black candidates. So if you can't trust them to address your issues, then why is it you should do anything except have another candidate?
So to that point, that's a very fair point. And in every forum I've moderated, I think 5 or 6 mayoral forums.
You've been a designated moderator for this.
Exactly, right?
It's nice.
So I've seen that question answer because I've posed that question. I've seen some mayor candidates stumble over answering that question.
But why did y'all pick on Mary Norwood?
Nobody picked on her. She received the same question.
I'm saying y'all made it. Someone made it a YouTube video of her.
No, because she was the only one that stumbled during that debate. So you're talking about.
I'm talking about when y'all asked her about police profiling and things like that.
Right. So let me explain
I thought her answer was. I thought her answer was very honest.
So you don't understand the context
we
of
all
the question.
Profile.
Okay. So wait a minute. Hold on. So let's go back to what really happened.
If I walk out of here to go to my car and walk down Auburn Avenue and I see 3 young brothers with hoodies on pulled low over their head, I'm crossing the street. That's profiling.
Okay.
Now, you could call me a racist if you want
Shelley,
to.
she didn't even say
I
that.
call you smart.
Hold on. Wait a minute. So, Shelley, I don't even know what you're referring to. So I don't know what Shelley's referring to, but the question, no, brother, I'm the one that asked her the question. I know what question I asked her. So at the debate, there was a yes or no card. It was a placard that everybody got to raise up, right? That's to save time. My question was very simple. Do you think racial profiling exists? Everybody said yes. Every candidate. The only candidate that decided to break the rules of that segment was Mary Norwood.
She should have.
Wait, hold on. No, wait a minute. Hold on. I'll let you talk. So she broke the rules of the segment. And she decided to instead ask me a question. And she said, basically, do you mean in Atlanta? And I said,
well, is race and racial an issue in Atlanta?
That's what I asked. So hold on. Let me at least set it up because he got it wrong. All right. So I said, well, Mary, do you think it happens in Atlanta? She said nothing. And that is what got recorded on Channel 2, Channel 11, Channel 46, and Channel 5. So the fact that she said nothing.
Fair enough. Let me ask you all this. And I'm posing this to the audience more than you two. She's a white candidate who last year or 4 years ago, 8 years ago.
The leading white candidate.
Well, 8 years ago, she was slammed with about $250,000 in ads that called her a Republican.
From the state Democratic Party.
Right. So she's again in that position again. You ask about racial profiling.
I ask every candidate.
Right, I understand that. But I'm saying it's easy for all of them to say yes. That's the easy answer.
But that's the true answer.
Well, it depends on how you...
Hold on.
Does racial profiling exist?
One at a time.
Wait. Let me finish my thought.
Very quickly.
You said racial profiling. You said in Atlanta. So here's the point.
Does it exist?
Does it exist? So if racial profiling exists in Atlanta, because she's only been on the city council, so let's run down who's been in charge of Atlanta to have racial profiling to be this problem. You've had a succession of black police chiefs. You've had a succession of black mayors. You've had a majority black city council.
Remember, Shelley's a conservative now.
You've had a black Fulton County Commission run. You've had black fire
What does that have to do with her not acknowledging?
How do you have racial profiling in the city of Atlanta with all the black people in charge?
That has nothing to do with
Robert Patillo. Robert Patillo.
Let's understand. This is the issue that I think a lot of people have with Mary Norwood, that she doesn't have the
gravitas,
the agility to answer the way that Shelley did. Because if she had given that answer saying that the current administration, the previous administrations are the reasons for this, you're not going to tell folks on Bankhead that they still have Red Dog units kicking in doors, that racial profiling is an issue. Her ability not to answer that question
Mary
is a
have
problem.
the presence, the ooh-la-la to be mayor? She's great in communities, great at walking around. Does she have the look, the style, the class, the panache to be Atlanta mayor?
She will be a perfect mayor of Marietta or Kennesaw, or like if I was hosting like a coffee or a tea or something in Buckhead, I would want her to be the mayor of that. But I don't think that she has what it takes to handle issues in Southwest Atlanta, and she has shown nothing during the campaign to prove otherwise.
Let me say this, because back to your point about Mary Norwood, the reason why I pose those type of questions to candidates, period, that goes for city council, school board, all of the races I moderated, is because if you can't acknowledge something, you can never change it. And we know that it does exist. We know that it does happen.
Why hasn't changed?
Her inability. Sir, that's a different question that I did ask in that same debate. But the first, you first have to start with, do you acknowledge that it exists? I don't care if it was black from the rooter to the black folks racially profile black folks too. That's why I asked the black candidates the same question.
Well, let me go somewhere. Let me go somewhere with this. I think that's where we are in this pivotal time, in that many young black folks, some sitting out here, don't think black elected officials have done a squat for us.
Exactly. That's the point.
And many older folks, maybe myself, are saying, does color really matter anymore? Is that where we are?
Yeah, because if you look at the national trend as it goes, New Orleans has a white mayor, Memphis has a white mayor, St. Louis has a white mayor. Because after 40 years of black democratic racial politics, just saying, well, vote for the black person, it'll do you well, and us saying, if you go to Hollywood Road right now, it still looks like Aleppo. And that's what black democratic mayors for the last half century. So because of that, you're getting young people who are saying, I don't care who it is, just fix the problem.
Had a young person tell me, listen, I have a family, I'm 33 years old, my father lived in the Bluff, I live in a Bluff, what the hell has changed?
No, and let me say this. To the older black woman, when you talk about that female heavy vote, it's an older black woman vote.
Senior citizens,
I would say 40 plus.
Grown
and
sexy.
If you talk to them, that's where you see your Mary Norwood signs in the black community. I don't see.
You do.
I don't see.
My next door neighbor has one. She's a black woman.
I don't see black candidate signs in Buckhead, Sandy Springs, and so forth. I see Mary Norwood signs in the black community.
Yep.
And the reason why you see Mary Norwood signs in the black community, because a lot of people are saying just what Robert just said. You know what? If I elect an African American consistently at levels, let's not understand.
We're going to some other levels on there.
The mayor is but one seat. If I elect all of these people at all the time and nothing's changed, these older citizens who are going through situations where they gotta go shopping before the sun goes down for fear of getting their heads bashed in. You got a situation where you went through 3 months of young boys carjacking mostly black women at gas stations. Where you have people sitting around saying, you know what? If you could stop that, I don't care what color you are. And that's where you are now.
But we do have a white gay police chief now.
Which really has been second,
and who put him there? Who put her? Sorry, him, her. I don't know. Who put her there? With all due respect, who put her there? The guy that's telling me and telling you that you need to vote for this sister to continue doing what I'm doing.
That's going to be Bottom's biggest problem going into if she makes it to the runoff. The fact that she has tied herself so closely to the Reid administration, basically saying, I'm a third-term Kasim Reed.
She's a puppet.
If you are part of the corporate interest that wants to tear down black churches to put stadiums over it, then you support that. But if you live 4 blocks away from that stadium on English Avenue or on Brawley or on Ashby, you might say, well, maybe I don't want more of this going on, because if y'all can spend $500 million or $5 billion on one side of the north side and $0 on the other side, maybe we need a change.
They're spending money on the other side. It's the Blank Foundation has invested a ton of money into that land, and they're the ones investing money. They built a rec center there. They've got police there. They're doing everything right for a future incoming white middle-class base.
Can we talk about the
dangers? If you could have fixed those problems now, my question to everybody, here's a question that you should ask yourself before you go vote tomorrow. You should say to yourself, here are the problems that I see them as an individual, whether it's high crime, whether there's no job, whatever the case may be, whatever that issue is. You have to look at that and say, this is my problems with what has happened. Then you have to say, who has been there for the time that these problems have happened? Where you have a longtime city councilman who's now president, you have another city councilman, you have a city councilwoman, you have another city councilwoman, and you have a Fulton County chair. The only person it leaves you with are the others.
Robert, same question. What should you be asking yourself before we go to the council races and other? On the mayor's race, what should we be asking ourselves?
We should be asking ourselves the economic question of the pattern of progression that the city is currently on. We are on an unsustainable economic pattern in this city. There's no job basis for middle class or lower income people. There's no loading docks jobs. There's no jobs out there that were created. We're depending on this movie industry bubble. We're depending on a real estate bubble. And when Birmingham creates more perks, or when Charlotte creates more perks, and all this stuff leaves, and all these yuppies buying $700,000 condos leave, what condition will the city be in, and what will be the future thereafter? Can we just depend on this false equivalency of the economy that we're currently on? Nobody is addressing those issues on what's going to be the basis for the middle class in Atlanta in the future.
Other than Amazon, maybe.
All right, so there's a danger in racial identity politics. You have to be very careful with it, because even as pundits, we can play into it. And we play into it sometimes without even knowing that that's what we're doing. So what you said, Shelley, I agree with 100%. You take what's really happening in your neighborhood and you say, hey, this is the person that I think can best serve my interests. That's the game of politics. But you also said that folks are tired of black people. Well, once again, we're back to race identity politics.
But that's what we are here in Atlanta, are we?
Well, but if we blame, hold on,
I think you misunderstood.
Let him finish.
If you blame the negligence of an elected official and then connect it to their race, that is racial identity politics. But if you're saying, well, black people haven't done us right, no, that person didn't do you right. They happen to be black because a whole lot of white folks haven't done you right also. But we don't say this is what white folks have done.
Whoa, time out. Maynard, please. I know you want to go someplace else, but I can't.
No, I didn't. I want to tell you what the truth really is. I'm going to let you my guess.
What I said was, if you're talking about the city of Atlanta, it's all been black run. Now, we're talking about race in this race. That's how he started off, asking about the white woman, is this a new day? So if you're talking about what's been the history of elected officials over the last 40 years in the city, you have to ask the people, has anything changed? And so tying it to their race, I'm not doing that. I'm saying that these people have been in charge. If you're now saying you can't take a white woman, if you're saying now you can't take a white woman that might fix every problem in the black community over the last 40 years because she's white, let me finish, because she's white, but you'll take an African-American candidate because he's African-American and keep the same problems going, that is a ludicrous proposition. That's not racial identity and racial politics.
But again, she's in second.
No, and I'm not telling anybody to vote for Mary Norwood. I'm just saying, if your argument is I don't want a white mayor, but I'll take a black mayor simply because they're black, and then tell me, well, white people have done you wrong.
That's what I think.
That was my point. That was my point. But don't say I'm not voting.
That's not at play here. That's not at play here.
That's the point. Don't say I'm not voting for a black person because they happen to be black. That's racial identity as well.
No, I'm saying that you shouldn't. I clearly said you shouldn't vote for the people that have been there during the cause and the perpetuation of the problems that you see.
And that's why I said on that I agreed with you.
And that's why many people are suggesting that we need a whole new paradigm shift with regard to who's going to run this city. Would it be a Vincent Ford? Would it be a Peter Amon who came out of nowhere to be number 3 in the polls because he's smart and he has money and he has common sense?
Amon, the first thing he did when he hopped into the race, he hired some of the best political consultants we got in the city. We work with them, we know them. Hired some of the best people. He directly took head on the issue of
race frames this election. Was his quote.
When we had meet and greets at a wing joint down with nothing but black folks, Peter Amon was there eating wings with black folks. If you go down to barbershops on Bankhead, Peter Amon is there. So he has broken out of that thing that Mary Norwood has fallen into by being the white lady in the race who appears to not be interested or concerned with the issues of lower income and poor black folks in the city. That's going to be her Achilles heel. That's where her number is capped at. Because if you're a black person under the age of 65, you're probably not voting for Mary Norwood.
I don't know. Joyce Dorsey endorsed her yesterday, and Joyce Dorsey has amazing credibility among.
Let's remember that
Bill Cannon also.
Endorsements mean almost nothing in this city.
That's what I was going there.
Let's remember.
They used to mean a lot. They don't mean as much as they.
Vincent Ford got endorsed by the black ministers. That has waned.
He also got endorsed by Governor Barnes, Bernie Sanders.
Look, you can buy an endorsement in this city for less than you can buy wings at BQE. So let's understand that those things don't hold the same weight they used to. You can get a line of civil rights leaders, give them a chicken plate each, and they'll endorse you for every.
You know what? We've not mentioned Caesar Mitchell tonight. Isn't that something?
And
we've not mentioned Caesar Mitchell.
That's his fault. We've not mentioned
him at all. Has he fallen that far?
No, he has fallen that far because we live in the era of Trump. We live in the Trump era, the social media era. So when you have a pitched battle being attacked by the sitting mayor, violating campaign finance laws, putting billboards up attacking you in City Hall, you don't play the statesman role.
That's right, exactly. You got to hit back.
Channel. You throw jabs, you throw haymakers, you take them to the net.
I said this. Mary Reid stole his balls. I
told Council President Mitchell back in this event that we went to at Park Tavern back in April, and I pulled him to the side and I said, "You have to start punching." because this guy's going at you.
He's beating you up.
Have to start. I mean, and the thing that bothered me so much, I can understand two men going at it over policy. That's fine. I can argue with Rashad over policy. Man, we'll go out here and hug each other and make sure each other get home safely and everything is cool. But when Reed starts going after his manhood, as a man,
as I said, he stole his ball.
And the thing is, like Robert said, people were waiting to see what your reaction was going to be, and your reaction was not to knock him out. When they put that sign up downtown, and it took a staffer to go remove it, that should have been.
Well, it was a campaign volunteer.
Then you denounced the volunteer.
It should have been, but
the volunteer got arrested. I would have, and I think we've all spoken to Caesar offline. First of all, you arrested my homeboy. That's not going to fly.
Right.
Okay. What he was doing was he saw an illegal sign at City Hall and he decided to do something about it as a taxpayer. He got locked up, bail was posted, but nothing else was said. But let me say this. I got to say this for Caesar. All right, when the polls came out, right, Caesar was trending. Caesar was trending up. Kasim Reed broke that momentum by coming out and challenging his manhood. When Caesar Mitchell did not have an equal response to the fight that he brought, what you saw was a 5-point, y'all got to check out the record, a 5-point drop with black men supporting Caesar Mitchell. That was all because of Kasim's hit and the lack of hit back.
And let's understand, this is the city that created trap music. We created we created crunk music. This is the city of Nuck If You Buck. You don't get punched in the face and then lay down. At one point when they asked Caesar a question, I thought he was going to throw a tampon at him. I don't know what he was doing.
But in Caesar's defense, meaning not over this issue, because I thought I didn't know what Rashad just said, and I have no doubts that he is 100% correct in what he just said, not because of the numbers, but because I felt it myself.
It makes sense.
I was like, wow, you're not going to hit this guy back? You should have been down.
And he spent the most money, seemingly, in the whole campaign.
Well, he's raised the most money. He's raised the most money, and he has spent the most money. But when it came down to this,
but he had been run by black folks.
Well, he ran a campaign. His campaign was, I'm the adult in the room. He ran the campaign. I'm the adult in the room. Here's the problem. The appetite for politics has changed, and you have to run the election that is current and not the election that you wanted to run. If Caesar Mitchell was running this election 8 years ago, shoe in, no problem. He'll be number one going into the runoff. But it is not 8 years ago. There's a different capacity for political appetite.
Well, speaking about your time, we're sitting in the district of Kwanzaa Hall. Great guy.
Yeah.
Wrong time for him? Or can he pull something out?
No, he cannot pull something out. I'll tell you exactly when the race was over for Kwanzaa Hall. 2 years ago, when him and Kasim Reed went into the white folks' backyard, had that press conference about stopping crime in
Midtown.
Wherever it was.
Yeah,
when they did that, and then a week later, black folks are getting killed on Cascade, and you didn't see any of the black leadership down there to support them.
I don't think that killed his campaign.
His race was over.
I don't think that translated to the masses.
To me, and I think people, if you go to the barbershops, that's when his campaign was over.
I think Kwanzaa picked the wrong time.
I believe that too.
I think he stepped out there too early. It was a crowded field.
Yeah.
A very talented field.
A very talented field too. That's a very good point, Rashad. And I think this being his district led him to believe that there are a whole lot of votes.
Because they love him in his district.
They do love him. The city was like the old Fort Worth.
Right, but the thing you got to understand though is that I think with Kwanzaa, this district is kind of different. This district is business owners. Of course you're going to love him.
And a lot of them don't live here.
A lot of them don't live here.
Also, let's remember that this district,
they don't live here.
This is the district that Southwest Atlanta is scared of becoming. This is the district of mini bikes and trolley cars. This is the district where Auburn Avenue used to be all black-owned businesses, and now you can get Arden Smoothie around the corner, the little tea shop around the corner. This is what we don't want to happen to Atlanta. And he's going to ride that momentum into being the mayor of Atlanta. But I think another issue is after what happened to Caesar in 2009, where he delayed his mayoral narrow run to allow Kasim to be mayor, and then Kasim proceeded to stab him in the back repeatedly. That has killed the era of candidates waiting to run. That has killed the era of your term.
We're in Butler Street right around the corner here, where they used to get together and say, "You're next, you're next, you're next."
That era is gone. It's over.
So black leadership is gone. Has Kasim done that too?
Wait a minute. Let's put this in context. Put that in context. You have Kasim Reed, who is endorsed by Ambassador Andrew Young, going after
you mean Caesar?
I'm sorry. Kasim Reed. No, I said it right. Kasim Reed, who was endorsed and is still supported by Ambassador Andrew Young. Kasim Reed goes after Caesar Mitchell, who is also endorsed by Ambassador Andrew Young. In other words, Ambassador Andrew Young, as powerful as he is in this city, does not have the juice to sit both of those men down and say, cut this foolishness out.
His day is gone too. His day is gone too.
Are we here telling the truth or not telling the truth?
Sure, come on, man.
All right, so we're telling the truth.
This is a black show. This ain't no white show like y'all got.
For a certain dollar amount, I could probably have Andrew Young endorse me for this debate right now. So I don't think anybody takes those endorsements seriously anymore.
I think people still take those endorsements.
Nobody votes or swayed by that who are not in a nursing home.
Understand this.
That's cold.
Ambassador Andrew Young still has a significant connection to some of the senior residents. I don't think it translates to millennials. I don't even think they thought it would, but it still has some statistical significance.
I think Andrew Young lost all of his credibility with the under 65 plus when he basically said what the young kids were doing with Black Lives Matter.
That they were brats. That was hurtful.
And I think it was over.
It was before that when he was supporting Hillary over Obama.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. And he did it. And he did it here on Newsmakers. He did it on Newsmakers.
That's where it started.
So like I said, for a certain dollar amount, I get an endorsement for this debate. I could get an endorsement for my parking.
Jim's loving this.
People know these things.
Move on. City Council President. Will we see? We're talking about a new day at City Hall. Perhaps a new mayor. We'll have a new mayor.
Yeah.
City Council President.
Yeah. So City Council President, you got 3 candidates. You got Juan, you got Felicia Moore, and you have C.T. Martin.
I think CT's day is done.
Yeah, none of them have run particularly great campaigns, to be quite honest.
But will the LGBTQ community really go behind Alex Juan?
Well, they have. But
or has he tied himself too closely to?
I think he's tied himself too closely. He comes in number 3 in all of the polling data. He has been surging with fundraising. I think he's outraised both of the candidates. But this election also will go into a runoff as well. I think CT and Felicia Moore.
I think if, again, and this is about the voters, if voters are honest about what they believe, I'm talking about what I hear them say, what I sit at a bar and hear them say, what I see on social media, if voters are serious about what they believe and they say, Felicia Moore should be their choice. I mean, you got to understand, C.T. Martin's district barely has sidewalks, and he's been there 20 years. You got $500,000 homes with no sidewalks. The only reason Danforth has street lamps now is because Kasim Reed lives at the end of the block.
Let's talk about another hot race.
And he wanted to pass a law. And he wanted to pass a law that made it illegal, and that made it illegal to wear sagging pants.
But let's remember.
How does that spin in black community?
These are the issues I think.
Spins like it's made some sense.
Yeah, I think these are the issues in this race. If you were to literally start walking right now and walk to the airport, you will not find one person who knows who Alex Juan is. His entire campaign is from right here up through Midtown to Buckhead.
That's true.
He doesn't know communities. He doesn't campaign down there. You can only tie yourself so closely to one community and completely ignore the African American community altogether.
I asked Alex Juan during the debate about the Beltline, and I said, did you see it coming? I asked all candidates this, did you see it coming? That they were not hitting the goals, that affordable housing really was not being built, all right? He said he didn't see it, he got caught slipping, he apologized, and his answer seemed so flippant. I came back to him and I said, Councilman, you know why everybody else in this room knew those houses weren't being built? Because we keep our ears to the street.
And they go there, they walk there.
We knew
he does it. He does it.
Nor does he care. But I would honestly
because he's
say,
got a built-in voting base.
But not only that is forget politics. None of these people care about those houses being built.
Because if Felicia Moore does.
Well, no, maybe she does. I do agree with you. But I'm saying as politicians, none of them really care that those houses weren't being built because they were there. They were right there.
It was so obvious.
I think more than, to me, the city council president race has been dull. It really has.
Well, one, CT is 153 years old.
But
there's so much energy he brings to the race.
Yeah, but he'll get some votes from senior citizens.
He'll still get a significant vote total.
Exactly. Remember what he's done.
It's sad.
How he is. It's sad.
It's sad.
He'll get the Reconstruction era voting. Like those votes will be his all day.
You're cutting up Reconstruction era.
But I'm saying,
I had some jacks, so I'm cool.
I'm leaving, man. So you gonna get on me in a minute.
But it's sad though. It's sad to me. It's sad that is. I like him. I think he's a great guy. But I think it's sad that in a race like this, with the 8 candidates you have for mayor, with the city council races you have going on for mayor, that is a choice, a viable choice in the African American community for city council.
And why is there no passing of the torch? Why is it that we don't have a mentorship situation where people like CT who have served his community, he's still well loved? Why is it
he is well loved now? He really is.
There's not a mentorship happening.
You know, you got to drag these politicians out in a casket. Like until they are mummified, they're not leaving.
Well, is it time for the casket for Michael Bond? Is he done in his poster?
Look, this is my issue with Michael Bond. When you're running against a candidate, so Courtney English is me, young guy, energetic. You're the son of a civil rights legend. You don't need to be in the mud, literally throwing punches and pushing people. Like he's been an embarrassment at this point. So if you're going to a scandal city, you need to go ahead and just leave on your own before you get thrown out.
Can I talk about this?
This is your beat.
So I moderated the debate where Courtney English and Michael Julian Bond got into it.
You caused it.
No, I didn't. I did not cause it. And so Michael Julian Bond continued to talk beyond his time. His time had expired. I continued to say, "Tom, your time has expired." He then started cursing, and he also decided to put his hands on the stage on Courtney English, and that's when I intervened, got between them, and told Michael Julian Bond to get to the other side of the stage. It was a surreal moment in politics because we had about 250 and 300 people in the audience. We had a lot of children in the audience, and this man was saying, and I didn't say everything he said on air the next day. I could, but I chose not to do that. But people in the front row and second row and third row, they heard exactly what he was saying, okay? And Courtney English capitalized on that.
Sure.
But
he got now one endorsement does count. Shirley Franklin does count.
He got Shirley Franklin, and Shirley Franklin counter-endorsed Michael Julian Bond. I mean, she came out against Michael Julian Bond and for Courtney English.
But she had Courtney English had Shirley Franklin as an endorser, as a supporter when he first announced.
Yeah.
He had her way back.
Because people don't like Michael.
But I think Michael Julian Bond still is likely to win that election.
I think Courtney wins that without a runoff.
Let's appreciate all.
I honest to God believe Courtney wins that without a runoff.
Let's not forget, however, that Courtney English went to Doug. He put them hands on Julian if he wanted to. He just decided that wasn't the right thing to do at the time.
Plus, he has his own issues too. He's not he has his own issues. City council president. I mean, school board president.
But a lot of voters don't get it. Look, we have a president who don't pay no taxes. Right. People don't care about little stuff like that anymore. Look, you know he ain't pay no taxes.
I thought
that makes him smart, right?
I thought that Rachel Maddow found his taxes and found that he paid.
That was such a letdown. Listen, can I say this to you, Shelley?
30%.
I have not watched Rachel since that night.
So
I was so upset.
I think Courtney English wins that race, and
what makes you think? Wait a minute. Let me just say this. All right. I think Courtney English is going to be competitive, and he could win the race. However, given the name, and also the statistical data, people that still say they're supporting him, he may lose.
That's right.
Courtney may lose
because Michael doesn't have a name.
I'm just saying.
And everybody Michael Dewey is giving a proclamation to, we're going to vote for him. And he's a proclamation king.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. And again, this is what I'm going to say. And Robert.
And he's got money from the corporate interest too.
Well, and Robert said this earlier. I'll reiterate it because it's the most important thing. We've got to start as a voting community. We have got to start to be somewhat more serious about our vote, that you should not be able to stand up here and tell me that this guy has a chance of winning because he gives proclamations, because he's raising money from corporations, yet his district is still in the same condition that it was before.
And what about the situation?
Let's move on a bit. We exercise that. I thought an interesting race. Another school board guy, Matt Westmoreland, against Corey Ruth, an admitted Republican, black Republican. I think that's a fascinating race. Where do you see that?
You talking about Matt? Talking about the city council race now?
It's a nonpartisan race.
Matt is going to wipe the floor in that race. I just got to tell you straight up, Matt Westmoreland is going to win that with no problem.
Well, I think Corey still has a chance.
I do too.
Corey is young, he's sharp, he's energetic, he raised a lot of money, he campaigned in different communities all around the city.
And it's an at-large seat.
And he's running the citywide.
Yeah,
and
he's
Corey,
not just the
I like Matt,
20.
but Corey is not your classic conventional Republican.
I don't think. I think you throw that term out there, you muddy the waters because this is a nonpartisan race.
Is he a self-identified Republican?
Well, he's run as one before. No, he is.
Okay.
He's not saying anything wrong.
Okay.
I'm just saying you muddy the waters because
it's a nonpartisan election.
Right,
I get what you're saying.
It's a nonpartisan election, but people know who he is because he's run.
Well, Democrat is the Democrat in the race. Keisha is the Democrat in the race.
She's a Democrat in the race. And but the thing is, I think that Corey. I think that Corey has run a good race. I think he's raised a good amount of money. I don't want to phrase this wrong because I don't want to take it the wrong way. I just haven't seen that money being spent. I haven't seen that money in the streets. When someone raises a lot of money, I want to see the money in the streets.
And this goes back to what we were saying earlier about having the best run campaign. That if you, one thing I don't see along the entire election cycle is people hiring campaign managers who work in Atlanta politics consistently.
Right.
They're outside consultants, so they don't know what
Except
churches to go
Peter
to.
Amen.
Peter Amen got some of the best in the business on his campaign.
So even this weekend, driving around Atlanta, I didn't see the street money that I've seen in years past. I haven't seen the sign spinning.
I wrote an article or something I wrote, but to me the three top campaign managers are Erica Ford with Norwood, Fred Hicks with Almond, and Tracy running Keisha's campaign.
Tracy Reed.
And I think those three people are hammering out. Well, I'm looking at what they're doing. I mean, we can laugh.
Tracy got skin in the game. He's been around a long time.
Not only that, I'm the reason why I don't chuckle is because I'm watching her. Yeah. If you go to any place, any event going on in the city, they are there.
The three of them are good, and they're good at what they do. And they know Atlanta. Two more questions. Corruption, City Hall corruption, City Hall scandal. Is that going to matter? Does anybody really care anymore? Will that impact the outcome of the mayor's race? Now, one more question for you after that.
I hesitate.
Doesn't it stink?
Well, I don't know what that means because the rule says that I can give someone $2,500, right? Take away family, right? Mom and dad, grandparents. Why else would someone give a candidate for office $2,500 if not to get something in return?
Yeah.
So you set up the rule to say you can give $2,500, you can give $5,000 if $2,500 goes to the general, and it's all legal. So why else am I giving the money? So I think this whole idea, I think the whole idea of corruption, it sounds good, and it's funny to me
how it's a pay-to-play system. I've been around here since
the whole system is like that. But let me finish. It's funny to me how corruption always pops up in the city of Atlanta, where the whole system is the exact same everywhere else in the country. So why do you how is it that you only find corruption here and you don't find it in Gwinnett, or you don't find it in Norcross, or you don't find it in Dallas?
That's the AJC. That's racial.
Well, look,
that's racial.
2 points on what Shelley said. Let's remember the political climate that we are in. This is why I keep going back to that. During the presidential general election, we nominated the two most corrupt candidates in modern American history. Everybody agrees with that. We had a corrupt Democrat and a corrupt
Trump can't be defined as corrupt if he never held office before.
No, that's not true. No, sir. Hold on.
You said two of the most corrupt.
No, not two of the most.
Wait a minute.
Two most corrupt.
Sir, wait a minute.
Candidates, though. You said candidates.
You had two candidates
You
who were
said
financed
two
by
corrupt
foreign
candidates.
governments. You had two corrupt
So people
candidates.
can't be corrupt before they get elected?
No, you can, but you can't say that's what Robert
can
said.
you not say?
I will say that. I will answer that. Robert said you had two of the most corrupt candidates
Absolutely.
nominated for
Can he
president.
sexually
And I'm
assault
saying-
women before he got
I'm
elected?
saying, hold on. Let me say, I'm saying that you can't say Trump was a corrupt candidate.
Why?
Because he had never held office before.
Why? That has nothing to do with
It has
it.
everything to do with it.
Let's move on.
Real quick. Shelley is making this argument after half his
He
campaign
loves
got
Trump,
arrested this week. You can't say that somebody's not corrupt when most people are getting arrested.
What did they get arrested for?
Being corrupt.
No, what did they get arrested
Going back
for?
to the
No,
American-
seriously.
wait,
Seriously,
this-
no.
We're not getting
I know you said you had Jack.
We're not
What did they
arguing-
get arrested for? It had nothing to do with the campaign.
Oh, that's untrue.
Nothing to do with the campaign.
Hold on.
But on that same point,
Nothing to be campaign.
when we start
Let
talking
Robert-
about corruption and people getting arrested, there are people getting arrested at City Hall right now.
Papadopoulos
for
got
these
arrested.
exact same things. But what we realize is voters don't care anymore. Voters don't care about a campaign being corrupt. Voters just assume, just as you were just saying, that it's a pay-to-play system. So I don't think he'll play the biggest part in the election. People don't care about tax returns. They don't care about property taxes. They don't care about water bills. They don't care about your friends and family having an incestuous relationship. As long as you can put on a fish fry, play some nice commercials, have like the old civil rights.
It's so
Yeah.
superficial.
People no longer expect character out of politicians, and that's the reason why you see people not blinking an eye at the character issues.
Because they knew it's been going
of elected
on. It's not a
officials.
surprise.
But I do want to say this to your point. Papadopoulos pleaded guilty. He said, you know what, I lied to the FBI about connecting with Russians and also connected with the campaign.
What does that got to do
I'm
with
going
the
to say
Trump
this
campaign?
before we go to Alaska. I think people are looking for
What's that got to do with the Trump?
something new at City
That was
Hall.
the Trump
Now,
campaign.
whether that translates in the election tomorrow, I don't know. But I do think people are tired of the old tires, the old system, the puppets, the players.
I think that people will not care until there's a new set of new people.
That's what I'm saying.
That- yeah.
Finally, gotta go. Who are you voting for? For mayor.
As a guy that loves politics, I'm going to tell you that I would love to see Vincent Ford versus Mary Norwood. And the reason why I say that is because I want to see black Atlanta, the top 1% of the bourgeoisie of Atlanta. I want to see if they're black really counts, or is it their money that counts? So I'd like to see Norwood versus Ford.
Robert.
I voted early, so I voted for Amon. I like the numbers guy. I like the numbers going on. I like people who can balance budgets. I don't want to hear about your water bill, your income taxes. I don't want to hear about who's the Republican, who's the Democrat, who's going to keep us from going bankrupt. And that's the only thing they're talking that way.
So I live in Clayton County, and
Oh, you don't count by me.
yeah, I don't. And I will say this, and also I'm hired by CBS 46 News to do the televised debates in the runoff, so I can't say who I'm supporting publicly.
But you're not too much opposed to what those two just said, are you? Never mind.
Somewhat.
Don't drill him down.
No.
Because that was a respectable. I mean, we respect that.
Listen, my partner's about ready to come up here who will talk about Mary Norwood, but I do think I'm not voted yet. And I love the fact that I'm still standing in the question. But I know when I go on that curtain, it'll be Vincent Ford or Mary Norwood. I mean, or Peter Amon. So I don't know, and it's fun to talk about it. But here comes. Thank you so much, gentlemen. But here, really great stuff, great thinkers. Really, a round of applause. But here comes my partner, Mr. Mary Norwood himself. No, Jim Welker. You have endorsed her.
All right, listen. So he put me on Front Street like that. So you know I got to say some real. Right? Okay. These dudes here, they're all thugs in suits. Don't let them fool you. They are not who they're acting like on the stage. I know these cats personally. They're thugs in suits. Reform thugs. Maynard,
I ain't never
he's just a thug. It don't matter whether you have a suit on or not. But here's what it is. The thing that nobody wants to deal with here is it has nothing to do with who's the best candidate. This thing is structured for a white candidate to win. Let's not get it twisted. If you think for 1 minute all these black people just happen to think that they can be mayor and all jumped into this race at once without somebody predetermining that we need to have these many black people, and if you don't think that Kasim Reed has set the stage for the next white mayor in America, in Atlanta, then you're not paying attention. What we have here is a situation where it is time for Atlanta to do what I watched happen in New York with David Dinkins. It's time to pass the torch to a white person who will facilitate the growth as they want it to happen in this city. It will come down to a real close race between whatever it is, the surviving white candidate and one black candidate who will just squeak it out. The idea here is, it may be Mary, it may not be Mary, but we know that at the end of the day, the objective is for it to be a white mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Newsmakers.
I can't co-sign on that, but